All right, starting up a live stream today. Just sitting here making some mandala letters. Got the A done already. Got a customer that wants all 26 letters. So I've been working on these. I've got the A done and halfway through the B. So we're gonna start a live stream. I was on a live stream Wednesday with Garrett Frommie, and he actually sent me a text message last night and said I probably want to go back and look at all the comments. There was 55 questions in there. I don't think we got to, so I figured I'd run over some of those real quick while I was cutting out these letters. First of all, I've already got the first two layers of this B done, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this one started cutting, and I'll get to the first question from that live stream. There we go. First question in that live stream: when thinking about adding laser tech to a system, what do you need to plan for fire protection and fume smoke removal? I think that question was actually brought up a few times, and I was so involved in trying to keep all of my I was so involved in trying to keep my own head straight, I didn't even look at none of the chats. So when thinking about adding a laser to your system, you definitely want to make sure you keep fire safety in mind. So you probably want to have a couple of fire extinguishers on standby. You want to make sure you would be able to get to one of those fire extinguishers if a fire were to break out. So don't have them right up under the laser where the fire might be, but don't have them so far away you won't be able to get to them either. Let's see here. My diode laser going. I'm cutting out some letters in this plywood. That plywood is sitting on a honeycomb bed. Honeycomb bed will start filled up. That residue will become flammable if you don't keep that clean very often. That's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is these things create a lot of smoke. So you need good fume extraction. Little 4-inch pipe just ran out the window of the basement down. This laser actually didn't come with an enclosure. I bought this little zip-up bag on Temu and it didn't quite fit, so I had to make some modifications, but it's working. I was going through that and I wasn't even showing the laser. See all the smoke pumping out of that reticle? There's 22 watts going to town. Let's see. I copied down a bunch of these questions that I don't think we had a chance to get to Wednesday night. There was like 400 something people on the live stream, so I wasn't even watching the chat. Can you align the laser to the project you just carved on your CNC? If the laser is mounted to the CNC router and it is aligned correctly to the project. There you would want to put in some offsets in your G-code. So yes, you can, but you just have to know how far away from the center of that bit the laser is. So well, you can do that, but that's going to be different for every system. I just heard a dip in my laser. I hope we ain't getting ready to lose power in the middle of a carve. Let's see, had a question. I'm currently running a 150 watt CO2 laser. Minimum power is 10%, approximately 15 watts. Is it possible to do photo engraves in wood? Struggling with this. Let's get back over to Lightburn and see if I can't do a little demonstration. I'm going to make a little makeshift laser nozzle, I guess. For path. I don't make fun of my makeshift drawing. We're just going to pretend that right there is a laser nozzle. And that lens is right there. We're going to pretend that this is the light coming into that nozzle. When that light hits the lens, that lens is going to focus that light into a cone. The distance from the lens to where that cone is at its sharpest point is the focal distance. That is typically where you would align your material when you're engraving. Oh, come on. If this green box was your material, you would want it right there at that focal point right there. It's typically where you would engrave or start cutting a material. That's where you would set the focus anyway. So if you got such a high power laser, I would take that and I would move that up just a little bit. That right there is going to displace some of the light, I guess, and you would get a darker char without just completely blowing the material away. That'll give you a darker engrave, defocusing a little bit. Seen some people using the borax and the stuff. I've never had any luck with that myself, but that's what I would do there. That layer on that B's done, so I want to go change that material real quick. E-world, where'd that come from? All right, there's my B. One of these days, I'm gonna get me a camera right here on the laser, I guess. All right, frame that up and start it. How do you translate percentage settings from one power of a laser to another? Since mine doesn't do millimeters per second. I don't understand the question there. How do you translate percentage settings from one power of laser to another? You're talking about two different things right there, I guess. In Lightburn, you can go up to the laser settings and change it to millimeters per second, but you cannot translate a 30-watt laser to a 60-watt laser. Um, there's too many variables, and it's not something you can translate like that. Every power of laser is going to have its own particular settings. A 60-watt laser is not twice as powerful as a 30-watt laser. There's variances there, so you can't do that. If I understand the question properly. See, I understand that Lightburn has a trace tool. So once an image is traced, will it save in a file that can be brought into vCarve? That's very simple there. Say this was your traced image. This is your vector. You just go to File, Save As. I'm sorry, not Save As. Export. File and Export. You can export that to an SVG, and you could take that into vCarve. So yeah, that's how you'll do that. Do you have a special software? Do you have to have special software? I'm sorry. Do you have to have special software to run a laser? You don't need Lightburn to run a laser, but you need Lightburn to run a laser. I'll put it that way. Let's see. Another question I got was, which printer is best for the money? Now, the Ender 3s are good printers. I mean, they're really cheap, but they're going to take some finagling with. I would look at the Bamboo Labs A1 Mini, or they may I'd step on up to the P1S. Just got an 80 tech. Just got an Ohm Tech 80 watt. You got to figure it out from the start. Okay. Well, if you need any help, there's a lot of good groups out there. I'm a moderator at the Laser Engraver community page, Quack Shack and Ventori Workshop. Bunch of good guys there. Laser everything. Bunch of YouTube channels there. And if you want to learn Lightburn, Hubbo with Wood on YouTube has a lot of good resources on learning different tricks in Lightburn. Can Lightburn Pro be used for both a diode and galvo? Yes, it can. Adding one to a shark will only be able to do flat work. It will not follow a 3D engrave. I know vCarve will. I'm not familiar with the shark. I don't know if you can install vCarve and use that with your shark. If you can, yes, it will, but it's not 100% necessary. Unless you got some very deep carves. Let's see here. Let me go to my channel and bring up a video of a Bible real quick that I carve. What is that at? Videos. There's the Bible I'm talking about, but I'm looking for the one where I was carving it and broke the bit. I could have just searched for ball nose. There it is, right there. I broke a ball nose bit when I was doing this carve, but I've got the plasma cutter on there. I got to take the plasma cutter off. This block of wood was brought to me by somebody. They bought this piece of cherry up in the mountains. He said he paid a pretty good bit of money for it. So when I broke that ball nose, it kind of freaked me out because it gouged into it pretty good. But I carved it out. Once I got done carving it out, I sanded it down. I took a picture of it with a tape measure up under it. I drew a rectangle in Lightburn, and I made that rectangle 6 inches. I scaled this picture until this tape measure lined up with the 6 inches on the rectangle I drew. Then I used the vectors out of V-carve to frame up the center, top edge, and the side edge. And that's how I got it in the laser. That's how I got it framed up in the laser to make sure all the text was going to be in the right spot. When I got it in the laser, I focused to the lowest point, and then I focused to the highest point. And I split the difference between that measurement. And that's where I set the focal distance. And it done pretty good, but I wanted it real dark. So when I got done with the engrave, I just masked off the edges of the pages, and I just started dumping paint in it. I had already had it clear coated before I laser engraved it, and it cleaned off with a paper towel and water just fine. I don't know if anybody can tell where I gouged it. Hold your camera still, buddy. You get to the top of it, see that line right through the top. That's where I gouged it. But anyway, hey, Clown Dyke, how's it going? Just going over some of the questions I had from Wednesday Night Live. There were like 50 something questions we didn't really get to. As I'm sitting here cutting out letters in the mandala pattern. Well, that was the question about the flat work. Let's see. You and I have VCarve Pro. What's the learning curve into Lightburn? Learning curve in Lightburn. I mean, that's real easy compared to VCarve, in my opinion. Alright. I'm looking to engrave black powder coating coated aluminum panels. What laser head do I need for my CNC? Any laser will do that. Powder coating is extremely easy to remove from aluminum. So even a 5-watt module will do that just fine. Can I etch glass with a diode laser? You cannot etch anything clear with a diode laser. You can put a clear acrylic or clear glass down on black tape or black paper. The blue diode will go through that clear material and will interact with the black material under it, and it will flash back onto that clear material. So there are some workarounds on that, but you will not be etching the glass itself with the diode. Let's see here. Are all your burns, Jack, single passes or multiple passes? Okay. Well, most of the stuff I'm doing on the diodes and CO2s is 6 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 6 millimeter. All that, of course, is going to be single passes, like these letters. That's what I'm working on today. Customer in California wanted all 26 mandala letters, so I'm working on those right now. On the diode, I've got these little coasters I made. This is ash. Let's see what this is. Millimeters. That's 6.2 millimeters. So that was 3 passes on my 20. That was 3 passes on my 22 watt diode. All right. I take it the new trim tool is an update in Lightburn. Is only available for paid subscription that she just used. I'm a he dude. To hover over the cut. Lightburn does not have a paid subscription, but you do have to repurchase each major update. So, and yes, that's that trim tool is in 1.7. Can't remember if it came out in 1.7 or just a little bit later. But yeah, you have to be at least past 1.7 to have that trim tool. I'm on my Linux machine right now, and I'm running version 1.6.03. I don't have it on this Linux machine, but I do have it on the other Linux machine. Let's see, if a person is very familiar with VCarve, will it make Lightburn that much easier to work with? Well, of course. A lot of it's just manipulating vectors. A lot of the tools are the same. So yes, it will be easier to use. Metric Aspire will laser where it carved 3D and adjust heights according to the 3D carve. Yes, it will. And Garrett had a question about how you zero your X, your Y, and your Z new materials. And there's not really a zeroing for that. You just set the laser where you want it to start and you hit go. You can zero the Z with the tool that came with your laser, or you can do a ramp test and make a better tool. I prefer to do ramp tests because most of those gauges that come with my lasers have not been accurate. My CO2 laser was actually a quarter of a turn on the knob off. Mr. Biker, how's it going? Yeah, I left a comment on your video too, telling you I did get those comments. And I saw the comments you left on the live Wednesday night too, but I didn't see them till later because I was kind of busy trying to make sure I was keeping all my points straight. I wasn't even reading the chats. Then there was a question about how much Lightburn cost. I really don't know about that. Next question I got was, what is your favorite 3D printer? And originally I had said 3D printers are just a tool. As long as it works, I like it. But of course, the bamboo's got to be right on up there. Where's my mouse at? Where's my laser cam? Let's put this in up there. This is my Bamboo X1C. I'm printing off some more of those clamps right now. and this is at normal speed. There's two gears above this. The sport mode, and then there's a ludicrous mode. So this ain't even the fastest mode it can print. It comes with the AMS, so you have 4 different colors of filament. So yeah, the bamboo was, I guess that would be my favorite one. The 2 Ender 3s, I never even turn them on anymore. And the resin, it's good if you want to do high detail stuff. I don't use the resin very often. That bee is still cutting out over there. See if we can't find the next question over here. Favorite 3D printer. Okay, we've got that one. Are the lenses adjustable, or do you need a separate lens for each focal length? You absolutely need a separate lens for each focal length. The lens, the curve of the lens is what determines the focal length. You can't adjust that. That's fixed. I heard that question come through last night, but I didn't read it. And the way Garrett read it, I didn't really understand it. I don't think he read it that way, but yeah, each lens has its own focal length. I believe they have. Oh, that's about the pricing of Lightburn. I can get rid of that. Darren Wilson said Lightburn is $99 a year. That's not actually correct. It's not a yearly subscription. It's just a purchase for each major update. Once you purchase it, it's yours forever, and you can use it as long as you want to. You just won't be able to get the major updates. So you need laser glasses for all diode lasers. You do need laser glasses for all diode lasers, although a lot of them will be enclosed. You may end up opening it one day when it's still running or something. It's a good idea to have your glasses on running a diode laser. Let's see, here's another thing about the Lightburn prices. How do I set a test card for an 80-watt CO2 OhmTech? That's something you should do for all your different materials. That's right here in the Lightburn. You go to Laser Tools, you will find this tag that says Material Tests. And you should do 2 tests on all materials that you plan on using. A cut test and an engrave test. You can set how many squares of test settings. In this case, we have 10 squares across, 10 squares up. For a cut test, I would set the speed, we'll say 5 millimeters a second. I'd go up to 20 would be kind of fast, and for the power, I would probably start at about 30 and go to 60. I wouldn't want to run my CO2 any more than 60% power. I would run that all the way up to 100 if I was on a diode laser. And you can do a preview, and your values will print it up across the bottom and over to the side. Each one of these squares will be a different setting, and you could look at the colors to determine how dark of an engrave, or you can look at the cutouts to see how fast and how much power is effective on that particular material. That's 2 settings you would probably need to do on everything you plan on engraving in your laser. Let's see, I got some comments over here. Let's look at that. Oh, okay. Height issues. You can always slice it and glue it back together. So, alrighty, that is let me change this material out. That bee just finished. One, two, three, four. All right, there's my bee. Set me another piece of plywood on the honeycomb. Just using the diode laser today, not using the CO2. Probably frame this out and do two or three at a time on the CO2. And there's a bee. I don't know what they're going to do with these layers. He had mentioned something about spelling things out. So he's probably going to need a lot more than just one set. That's all it would be. Bring in my C. Scaling this down to got my aspect ratio locked. I'm scaling this down to 8.5 inches tall per his request. Since I still got my toolpath there, I don't even have to worry about lining it up. Just set it there. Output, I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff over here. There. I'm going to turn all these other layers off, except for the first one, and start the C. There. I hear you say 60% a lot. I give it 90. Have you ever put, I don't have an amp meter on this one. I had it on my 30 watt CO, my 40 watt CO2, sorry. My 30 watt was a fiber. Had it on my 40 amp, on my 40 watt CO2. I don't have an amp meter on my 60 at all. I had often thought about putting one on there, but I've been had this laser for 6 years. So. Anyway, I have ran it to 70% once or twice, but I prefer just to keep it under 60 to give me some safe room. That's about all I need for. I've cut 1/2 inch material on it, 2 passes, so I don't need any more than 60% power. Keep it on the safe side. I have no idea about that. That C is already done. Let me change that out real quick. All right. This out of there. Put me a new piece of plywood on the honeycomb. And away we go. I'll turn that layer off, turn the next layer on. There she goes. Where was I? My questions now. Oh, that was the test card question. See, what about fiber, laser, and cutting metal? Well, I've got a 100 watt JPT fiber, so I can cut 16 gauge steel. I know that for sure because I've cut a bunch of projects in 16 gauge steel. Bring this to the stage. Let's see, Williams. So you need Lightburn for lasers. You don't need Lightburn, but you need Lightburn. I'm using a Onefinity and need to put a file on thumb drive. When you save it, you have to put each level saved separately. No. In Lightburn, all those layers will be in one file. Some manufacturers have their own software like Xtool. Yes, Xtool has, I know they have at least one of their lasers that it will follow a contour of curved surfaces. And for that function, you will have to use XCS, their software. But short of that, you can use Lightburn on an Xtool as well. Lightburn updates are paid required. That's correct. Okay, yeah, Lightburn. In order to get that trim tool, yeah, you're gonna have to get the update. And if you are in your 1.6 versions, you will have to pay to update to 1.7. And VCarve Pro run a laser. VCarve Pro can run a laser. VCarve Pro has a laser add-on for like $50. I would have to see that to see what you're talking about. Of course, I can do the flags. Yeah, I'd need to see that again. See what that looks like. I have a CNC long mill Mark II 48 by 30. Should I go with their laser or someone else's? I plan on using Lightburn. Well, when I was on my live the other night, there was a few people talking about the JTech, and I didn't exactly know what that was, but I looked into it. JTech is a company making laser modules, LED modules for CNC machines. So I think I would look at some of their modules. They have some higher power modules that can be adapted to the CNC up to like I can't remember what wattage. I know they have. I think they said they had a 40-watt module they could put on CNC. I'd definitely go there versus the. I like CNC Labs, but that little 7-watt module is just painfully slow and way underpowered. JTech is a good laser add-on, but CNCs are not fast enough to run laser work. Well, that's not true. Uh, Especially if you got the super longboard from CNC Labs. It's a lot faster than the regular longboard. But even the regular longboard, it can do engraves and cuts. You don't have to be running very fast to cut plywood, but yeah, it will work just fine on a CNC. It's fast enough. Somebody's got a question about Milmage. Milmage is a CNC geared software that Lightburn was working on. It was supposed to have been released in the middle of last year. Then it was supposed to have been released late last year, but I haven't heard anything else about Milmage. Let's see. If you've covered it already, sorry. I was just distracted, but what kind of fire safety? Okay, I'd already talked about the fire safety and fume extraction. And you put the material chart to show what each type of laser works on. I don't have that on this computer. That was on this other computer. I just threw a bunch of materials. I just listed a bunch of materials under each type of a laser. And I had that in the PowerPoint. That's on a different computer. How often do you do test arrays? I only do test arrays once. Once per new material. Let's see. I think the one that you did on the Bible was great. I don't have the Bible on my Etsy shop. Like, see about getting one, but you can definitely contact me directly, and I can make that happen for you. Uh, they are a little bit pricey because that is a big hunk of cherry. But most everything on my Etsy shop, I try to keep it geared towards linemen. I work for Pike Electric. I try to keep that kind of niche down just for power line related stuff. Jack, what do you think about baking soda and boric acid washes to darken the engrave? I did get this question last night, and I've never had a whole lot of luck with it. Um, I've already done away with my diagram there, but the only thing that's helped me darken engraves is slowing the machine down and defocusing. I can defocus the laser and get some darker engraves. If you are cutting fabric, would it be a good idea to wet the fabric to cut and reduce the possibility of fire? I haven't done a lot of fabric anyway, but I do keep a little spray bottle of water close by. If it starts flaming up a little bit, you can always shoot it with a little spritz of water. You want to engrave on a round tumbler to use Z settings or to use a rotary tool. Let's see here if I can bring some pictures up. Go to my Facebook group. Say mine. I've got these on the laser engraving community, which is run by the Clack Shack and Ventori's Workshop. I am a moderator at that group, so I'm in there a lot. The week before Christmas, I did about 200 tumblers. Of course, I like doing those on the CO2. Here's my tumblers. I've got this rotary tool in my laser, but I did not have it hooked up. I just had it there for alignment. And I had the nozzle almost touching the surface, but not quite touching the surface of the tumbler. And I could have went even wider than that. But with the CO2, I can run that power real high, and I can even slow it down a bit if I needed to, and not worry about damaging the metal under the coating. Since the CO2 will just bounce off this stainless steel. I don't know if you can tell back there, but you can see the engraving is real dark where it's burning the paint away. I just used some LA Awesome degreaser and a magic eraser, and it shines them right up, look like a new penny. So the only time I use a rotary, if I'm going to do a full wrap, you can get a real big engrave with it just sitting there and lowering the focus a little bit. These settings. Settings for CO2 for ballpark settings can be used to cut 6mm acrylic. Well, I need to know how powerful your laser is. I need to know what kind of lens you got. You know, 2-inch lens or a 4-inch lens. I showed that a little bit on the Wednesday Night Live, showing the difference between a 2-inch and a 4-inch lens. A 30-watt laser with a 4-inch lens can cut thicker material than a 60-watt laser with a 2-inch lens. So that's not comparable right there. I mean, I need a lot more information to tell. I mean, what it would take for you to cut 6mm acrylic, but I would suggest going through the Lightburn laser tools and doing your material test on that. Hey, we're going to pause it right there. I think the laser just quit. Yep. The next layer of the C is complete. My knee again. I need to move that piece of metal. Ouch. Okay. Now, cut that layer off. Cut that layer off. Turn that layer on. Oh, that's going to be a fast cut there. Start that up. Okay. Can I just wear my husband's welding glasses with my diode laser? Oh no. Welding glasses will not protect you from the wavelength of the laser beam itself, although it will protect you from the bright spot where the laser is interacting with the material. It will not protect you from the laser beam itself. You need glasses that's sorry. You need glasses that is designed for the wavelength of laser that you're using. Diodes are 450 nanometers. Fibers is 1064, and CO2s is 10,600 nanometers. How much time do you invest a day on your projects? I'm constantly working on projects. I got a filler in Greece right now that wants 100 business cards on anodized aluminum, and the image he sent me, when you look at it, almost looked like it might be 20 kilobytes. I upscaled it twice, and it still wouldn't trace, so I had to completely redraw the whole design. Do you have plans for the clamps on your website? No, I do not. There's a bunch of hardware you'd have to source too. I don't have plans on my website for the clamps. I do have a YouTube video showing how I designed them in Fusion 360 though. You have a file to drill the grid for the clamps. I don't have a file, but you can create that in VCarve real quick. I've got a video on my YouTube channel of how you create the file in VCarve to drill out your spoil board for the clamps. And like I said, I don't know if Garrett might have misunderstood me. I'm not sure. Do not use an end mill, period. I don't care if it's an up cut. I don't care if it's a down cut. Don't use a 1/4-inch end mill to drill those 1/4-inch holes. They will be oversized. I suggest the lightning bit that Garrett showed on his live stream. That's what I use to prep my spoil board. Yes, you need to clean your lenses and mirrors periodically. I really haven't cleaned the mirrors on my CO2, and or I couldn't tell you when, but you do need to clean those with alcohol and a microfiber cloth. Do not use a paper towel. Why are some lasers red or called blue? The only red beam you're going to see is for alignment purposes. A fiber laser has two red, actually it's got three red lasers. It's got two red lasers that shows you where the focal point should be. And then it's got one red laser that actually frame out the image you're about to engrave. They are for alignment purposes only, not engraving. CO2 has a red beam to align your projects, but those are not for carving or engraving. It's only for alignment. Blue beams are on the diode, of course, diode lasers. And when you're framing on a diode, that blue beam will come on at like 2% power. So you'll show you where your engrave is going to be, but it won't mark the material. So air assist to keep the slate off the lens and additional dust. Okay, yeah, the air assist on your, well, you can do slate on all three types of lasers. So on my fiber laser, I don't have to worry about it much because the lens is so far above the material. But on the CO2 and the diode, you do have air assist to help keep the lens clean. Some of the smaller lasers don't come with an air pump, but I would suggest investing in that. If you've got a lower wattage, it will actually help you get cleaner engraves. It'll help clear the path from the lens, because as that smoke's billowing up, it'll get in the path of that laser beam and it will degrade the quality of beam that makes it to the material. There's a bunch of reasons why you would want air assist. Okay, there you go. Explain how air assist affects the laser. What's a good starter laser? The biggest, most powerful one you can afford. I'd always suggest trying to buy your second machine first. Lasering wood gives a burnt edge and looks terrible, almost charcoal. If you are using a laser to cut a wood material and the edges are looking like charcoal, you are going way too slow. You need to speed that laser up. If you're not making it completely through the material, you need to add some passes. Do not slow it down. Add passes out. Slowest I would go is 8 millimeters a second. If that did not make it completely through the material, I would slow that laser down. Now we'll get to that question here in a moment because that laser has just stopped. So let's change this material out once again. Got a piece of wood on the honeycomb. Turn that layer off. Turn the final layer on. Hit the go button. And she's running. Format. Do you recommend more passes versus lower feed rate? Well, I just answered that. Yes, I do. Add another pass. Don't slow it down past 8%. The Clack Shack, he uses a lot of diode lasers. He claims he will go as low as 5 millimeters a second, but I stop at 8. Use masking tape for engraving. Does it reduce the edge overburn? I hate using masking tape for masking. um, Sometimes that tape heats up and you get some sticky residue, which can be cleaned off easy enough, especially if you're going to finish the project. Just like in the Bible example I showed earlier, I like to use clear coat. The overburn cleans off that clear coat extremely well, and there's no tape to have to deal with. I hate weeding, and weeding is a process of when you cover something with tape and you engrave a bunch of lines into it, you got to go and peel all those little pieces out. I hate doing that. Let's see. Chris is answering somebody. In that case, a 7-watt will do a reasonable job. More power just means faster but less detail. That is actually not the case. We're talking about a 7-watt diode. In that case, well, more power will definitely be faster, but more power is actually less detail because the more modules they stack inside of those laser heads, the wider that beam is going to be, and you're actually going to get less detail with a more powerful diode laser. So that was half correct. You said diodes are the same wavelength, but our OTOR laser Master 2 says blue. Yes, that is correct. They are blue lasers. What's the difference in red versus blue? Well, like I said earlier, I've never seen a red laser exist that cuts or engraves. That's just for marking. I want to engrave glass. Haven't tried it yet. In order to engrave glass or anything clear, you're going to need to use something like tempera paint. It's got titanium dioxide. The laser will not do anything to anything clear. You'll have to have a medium to interact, almost like an emulsifier to mix oil and water. There are workarounds, but like the tape, the black papers, the titanium dioxide paints. But I went through those questions a lot faster than I thought I was going to. So don't save. That's a lot of the questions I had from going back over the Wednesday night live I had with Garrett. Seemed like a lot of people was interested in that live stream, so figured I'd try to hit some of those questions real quick. Garrett wants me to actually add on to the PowerPoint that I showed. He wants me to do a follow-up. But anyway, now I'm just sitting here waiting on these letters to finish cutting. Like I'm going to be here for a little while. My diode laser going to town. Using my iPhone as a wireless camera. What's everybody else got going on tonight? This is one other thing I could show. A lot of people had some questions about Lightburn itself. Search knives. Go to images. I'll save that for later. I'm not going to go through that tonight. Oh, I seen that comment. Thought something else popped up. That's the last letter in the C. Bring up the D next. Scale that down to 8.5. See there, my mouse is moving and that letter is not moving. You hold your control key, you stop that. It'll stop that snapping and it'll move smoothly so you can precisely place whatever you want to drop. That all, turn our first layer on, and we're ready for the next cut. It is already 4:35. I'm gonna have to finish this up later. I'll go ahead and shut this stream down. I've been going for an hour. I think we're gonna go get us a bite to eat here after a while, and I might start this back up later. But I do appreciate all y'all fellas that dropped by to see me and listen to me ramble on. Y'all have a good night. We'll see you next time.